Alright guys, we're here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Tuesday so far. Today I wanted to talk power rankings. The Los Angeles home series has just finished a couple of days ago. Dallas Empire walk away with the victory. And of course, we've seen a fair few tournaments now. I thought it was about time to return to the idea of power rankings, exactly how the teams stack up. I think the top end and right to the bottom end it's pretty easy to define where the team should sit, but right in the middle it's super hard to determine which team is like, you know, an upset team borderline and which team is just about to break into the top tier and potentially become one of the best teams in the game. Those are questions for you guys to decipher in the comment section below. Took me quite a while to prepare all the content for this one, so I greatly appreciate a like on the video if you guys enjoy it. As always, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. Let's hop right into it here. So these are the CDL points so far this season. FaZe sitting up top, then Chicago, then Empire, then Rocca, Mutineers Legion, Ravens, OpTic Gaming, Surge, Gorillas, Subliners, and Ultra. Now, I think this is pretty well defined in terms of, you know, you could say the power rankings is just what the points are looking like, but I don't think that tells the entire story. And of course, some teams, like every team has played 3 events, but it's not all the same across the board. Some teams have, you know, played harder opponents and, you know, weaker opponents. And therefore, we get into a position where it's probably worth a revisit. Despite the fact that OpTic only have 20 points here, they showed so much promise at the last event that you could arguably say they are higher than that. And I have them higher in the list I'm about to go into, but I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. Let's hop right into it then. So this is the, so we looked at the points. This is how it looks in terms of series records so far this season. So FaZe are 8-1, Subliners down at 1-6. And again, this is a pretty good record of how you feel like they should be ranked. And I think, as I say, the top 4 and maybe the bottom 4 with one small exception I'll get to, probably have something to say. Like Surge and Ultra have played the same amount of tournaments overall, but Ultra have played less series, so you know there's obviously some things to discuss. So let's go into my list, and I'm going to start off with the New York Subliners. First of all, these graphics courtesy of Lion Man, linked down in the description box below, puts together these lovely player cards and all of this good stuff post-event. So this is what I'm going to be going through today. I don't have all of them yet from the Gorillas home series, which is what this one is. A couple of them will be from London and Atlanta FaZe, but this is the performances this weekend. And look, this New York Subliners team right now, it just doesn't work. Clearly a change has to come in. Happy, of course, they brought into the team. Can't say anything against him because, you know, he tried his best. Of course, if I was in this position, I would have done exactly the same thing. The fact that Zero is off the team, clearly this is not a long-term solution. And, you know, it's a real big deal. And I probably will talk about in coming days how, look, this Temp is a bit of an enigma, right? We're in a position where he should be such a great talented player, but you put him on a team that on paper should be pretty damn good, and it falls apart within just a couple of months. So they obviously come last place. Right now, I'm picking pretty much any team in the league to beat these guys. Clearly, the chemistry and everything isn't there. They did have a couple of good maps here and there. Of course, there's a lot of talent on the team, but it just doesn't seem to be working internally. And Happy obviously is not the long-term solution. So this 5 right now, you know, I don't think is very good at all. Have a look at their, you know, their rankings. Like they're 1-6 over the course of the season. Most of these games are with 0 as well. And then you bring in a Happy, you lose 3-1 to Dallas Empire. You lose 3-1 to the Florida Mutineers. The only team they beat is Paris the entire season. They got reverse swept by London at the London home series as well, as I'm sure a lot of you guys might remember. So, you know, Subliners right now are going to be my number 12. I didn't think I'd be saying that, but given the state of the team, I don't think there's too many other ways to look at it. Another team you could pick down there for sure is Gorillas. They just made this roster change, so it's difficult to you know, establish exactly how good this team is right now. But, you know, they did take 2 decent maps of OpTic Gaming, who I do have quite a fair bit higher in my list right now. They did get absolutely blown out to go out of the tournament, though, this most previous event. So that was Seattle, blew them out in a 3-0 fashion. I don't have Seattle far above Gorillas at all here. So, you know, I don't think they're a very good team either. They're 1-5 right now. Yes, they made these couple of roster changes. Did take 2 maps of OpTic, which is why, you know, as I say, this is a current power rankings. I'm not basing this off. I'm basing it off the past to some degree, but definitely it's future focused and it's present biased, right? As power rankings should be. Maybe it's too much present bias. Who knows? You guys will leave your thoughts down below, but you know, look, Gorillas, I'm going to have them in 11th right now. I don't think this is a particularly promising squad. Maybe in the future it could be. But over the next couple of events, I really don't see this team being anywhere near a championship contender. You know, we're going to have a lot of get a lot more action out of Vivid and Spark to be those next stars. You know, Aqua and Decimate can't carry the team the whole time. And Blast, you know, has his moments here or there. Then I'm going to have Surge in the 10th place. And you may think this is too far down. But to be honest, Surge have not particularly impressed me. The fact that Octane is dropping absolute bombs. You've got Pandering, of course, this event he performed decently, but Slack's Karma and, you know, Apathy has had his moments, but Karma and Slack have really been pretty poor, to be honest, so far this season. It's kind of disappointing to see in a way. But this is how it looks for them. So, you know, they got 3-0 by the Minnesota Rocket to go out of this tournament. They've had some ups and downs. They beat Gorillas twice. That's the only team in the entire league they've beaten. Lost twice to Minnesota Rocket, twice to Dallas Empire, then also to the Mutineers and Ultra right at the start. But those were game 5s. But you know, has the team really improved since Enable left? Yes, they beat Gorillas. They lost to Minnesota Rocket twice. You know, not like it's difficult to say exactly what came out of this event, given that Minnesota Rocket was such a good team. At the same time, I don't really think it's difficult to have them as low as 10th. I think it's pretty justifiable that they're sitting right there right now. They have more to prove in the coming days for sure, and coming weeks. Ultra, I'm going to have in my 9th place position, and just above Seattle. You could put it the other way around, I think, for sure. But this team, to be honest, has showed some pretty good promise. We have heard they're looking into a roster change, though, potentially Looney out of the team and Metals coming into the team. That's probably something I'll discuss in coming days. There's a lot of rumoured roster changes right now for teams around this kind of level in the league in terms of power rankings. So yeah, Ultra going to be my 9th place team, just above Seattle. But, you know, it's not like they've had a pretty run either. Lost a couple of times here to Paris, to Chicago as well. They did beat, you know, Seattle on the opening weekends. To be honest, though, despite these losses, Toronto, to me, have showed more promise, in a sense, than the Seattle squad has. And I think that once Toronto get it together, you've got a lot of talent, you know, going around on this team. Bouncer's been good, Cammy's been good, Method has been good on the whole. Looney's really been, I guess, the weak link. So it looks like maybe they're subbing him out, and we'll have to see how things go from there. And Classic has been something of a revelation from what we've seen in previous seasons. A couple of these losses, they really threw away the game, like this one to Ultra especially. And of course, it was Game 5, Round 11 versus the Huntsman. So I do think they're a decent team. I think that they've had to put them against Seattle right now. I think I might just favour Toronto, which is why I'm putting them in the 9th place position. But then it gets really, really interesting here as we get into the top 8. Now, honestly, the teams 5th through 8th, I think you could pretty much put them in any order you would desire. I'm going to go with Mutineers in 8th, just because, yes, they had this fantastic run at the Atlanta home series, making the grand finals, but they have just made this change for Ferro, and I think right now, with Pristini out and Ferro in, Ferro was doing okay, but I just think in the current meta, Morks on the SMG just does not work. Like, when this change is made, I think they will improve, but I have a difficult time putting them above 8th and just saying, look, they're 8th technically, but they're an upset team and they have great potential and, you know, to do something. And we've seen, look, they had these wins against OpTic, Royal Ravens, you know, Huntsman, of course, they beat. And you can say, you know, how is a team that's this good and, you know, coming up with these results, sitting down in 8th place? And it's because it's really difficult to, you know, justify them being, you know, a little bit higher, given you've got so many other good teams about. And yes, okay, Royal Ravens did beat Mutineers, but they also lost to Mutineers, and Royal Ravens are the team I have just above Mutineers in my list right here. So on the whole, in terms of records, they're doing pretty well. But, you know, they beat Subliners, then they get 3-0'd by the Dallas Empire. Pretty close series, to be honest. I feel like if they make this change and Morks goes out and Pristini comes back in, I can see them going a little bit higher. And you may say 8th is too low, but given the other teams right now, you've got the Royal Ravens next up in 7th place. That's where I'm going to put them at the very least. And yeah, pretty much mid-table team, as you would expect, I suppose. They've gone 2-0 against the Subliners. They lost a very, very narrow series to the Empire at the London home series. Beat Mutineers, lost to the Mutineers, and lost a series which was pretty damn close, to be honest, on the whole, to Atlanta FaZe. So Ravens are a good team. There are rumours that they're even considering making changes as well. Potentially, you know, Rated might even go out and they might consider, you know, an alternative. Because, of course, they've got Shawnee Yamaka on the bench, who I'm sure would love to get an opportunity on the starting lineup. This loss to Paris was a while ago, so I'm kind of going to disregard it a little bit. But I'm going to put them slightly above, and then I'm going to put Paris next. And what that means is OpTic right now are in 5th, which you may think is definitely too high, and that is arguable. But regardless, we haven't seen Paris really perform in a little bit of time now. They did lose twice to the Rocker. Honestly, they've been a really, really impressive team. They beat Toronto Ultra here. They lose super close series to the Huntsman. Early season, they were really, really good, but these couple of losses to the Rocker, it's difficult in the same way to the way, you know, Seattle lost to them at the most recent event, and of course, Rocker beat Paris twice at Atlanta as well, but these series were closer, Paris versus Rocker, than it was Seattle versus Rocker, the most recent event, so difficult to say exactly, but I do think Paris can run teams very, very closely and does have a hell of a lot of upset potential right now because they have some real firepower on their team, which I don't think a lot of people are expecting. But they're going to be 6th, and you could say that OpTic should be below them, which is certainly arguable. But I just want to base things off this weekend because I probably before this weekend I might have put them like 11th or something in power rankings, but for me they really shot up this weekend, and to be honest, for good reason. Like, yes, they're still 2 in 5 over the course of the season. But this loss to Empire was kind of close. They, beat Gorillas, did the reverse sweep, but really it's this win against the Minnesota Rocker, which really makes me think, damn, this team has great potential. Like right now, if I had to say OpTic versus Paris, that's going to be your game. And, who's going to win? I'm going to say OpTic are going to win right now, to be honest, just because, they've had this win against the Rocker, which is super, super impressive to me. So I think OpTic are probably right on the cusp of trying to become a top 4 team, which maybe the other teams, Paris, London, and Mutineers, I don't think they're quite on the cusp of being able to break into that category, given how difficult it is to do. I think OpTic are the closest to be able to make that work, which is why I put them in 5th. You guys may well disagree. Then you've got Rocker in 4th. I think it's pretty damn hard to deny. I think the top 4 are pretty clear cut, to be honest. Fantastic team. So much great team play on this squad. Like, all the pieces work well together. Super unfortunate the way they lost this weekend in the, of course, the Game 5 fashion to the Dallas Empire. But the only team that can really seem to match Atlanta FaZe right now, have to see how Chicago get up against them if we do ever see that matchup. Hopefully we will at the Chicago home series in about a month from now or something like that. The Dallas one doesn't have Atlanta, I believe, out. So we'll have to wait a little bit for that matchup, but GodRx is a monster. These guys have been phenomenal, but, they do just fall short to the Dallas Empire. So Dallas really have to be above Minnesota Rocker, to be honest. Don't think there's another way you put it. It felt like Empire always had control of that series. It took a couple of incredible map wins from the Rocker to make it work. So, okay, so I've got this the wrong way around here. Let's just change this around. So it's actually going to be, let me get this right. It's going to be Empire that are in my 3rd place position. So they come 2nd at the Royal Ravens home series, of course, losing to Chicago in the grand final. So Empire have to be above Rocker, to my understanding, or to my estimation at the very least. So yeah, this is the scoreboard for them. So, of course they win the last event, but then just above them, you have to put the Huntsmen, right? Like, what a fantastic team these guys have been. Of course, there are questions about maybe behind the scenes, gunless, and some talks about some fiery language being used on stream, and maybe the team is not necessarily falling apart or imploding, but maybe it's not too far around the corner, which is something you quite often see with gunless on a team. But of course, that's a topic for another day. But Huntsmen have to be 2nd. They've consistently shown they can beat Dallas. One thing about Dallas as well is the only teams they have lost to is FaZe and OpTic. Those are the only, or FaZe and Chicago even. Like, look at this. 3-0, 3-0, 1-3, 3-0, 1-3. But every other team in the entire league, Dallas is better than. So they literally have to be 3rd. There's no other way to put it. And Chicago, like, they win all the series up until this one against the Florida Mutineers. They haven't had a chance yet to come up against the Atlanta FaZe. But to me, FaZe just seem too good. And when we look at the map count situation, so FaZe to me are going to still be number 1. Yes, they had this loss to the Rocker. But in terms of map count, when we go back and look at this scoreboard, 26 and 7 for FaZe, 26 and 10 for the Huntsmen. To me, and of course, Huntsmen struggled a little bit to get through a few of their series at the Atlanta home series. FaZe pretty much bossed all of their series, apart from against the Rocker, where they have had some issues for sure. To me, FaZe are number 1, Huntsmen are number 2, Empire are number 3, Rocker are number 4. I think that's difficult to argue against. I think these bottom 4, it's going to be Toronto and Seattle switched for me. And then the other 4, you can pretty much put them where you want. I'm going to put OpTic 5th because I think they're probably the closest team to maybe knocking Rocker or Empire or some team, maybe even Chicago, out of that top 4 and trying to break through. Be intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.